To even add on to that point, like a big reason why, even though Martin Luther King protested very peacefully, he wasn't about like trying to do like destroy your own communities or anything like that. He was very against that. He really drew from Mahatma Gandhi. Um, the big reason why like the United States government and the CIA and the FBI were very threatened by Martin Luther King was not only because he was a socialist, but because he was trying to build a rainbow coalition. Now, every single time, like the prospect of a rainbow coalition comes up, there is so much energy trying to get it.
Yep.
Like even like now, we can even see this now with what happened. I believe yesterday or the day before, where Trump is calling for martial law and curfews and all that kind of
not martial law, not martial law. The what's it called? The inductory. What's the word?
You can basically send troops.
It's similar. It's similar, but it's the reason.
What's the name?
The reason the Second Amendment was created, and is part of the reason that fueled the Civil War to begin with, right? It was in the event that a president called in this law, which is supposed to have state approval. You're not supposed to just bring in federal military guard without state's approval. That's what they're doing right now. They didn't even get any state approval.
The Insurrection Act of 1807.
Insurrection Act.
There we go.
Yeah, that
there
thing.
We go. Yeah.
It's similar to martial law, but it's essentially just the federal government bringing in military guard to protect against civil uprising, and then that's what formed the Second Amendment in the Constitution, saying that like the civilians have a right to bear arms.
Right.
In essence, for this moment, when the military from the government's brought in on you for no fucking reason.
Well, no. To be clear, the Second Amendment existed before that, but that might have changed the views around the Second Amendment, because I've spoken about before how it wasn't necessarily about that, and that paragraph is terribly written. If you read it, you can read it in two different ways, right? But they switched from somewhere down the line, a lot later, it may be like a century later, but like the fact that this is even an option, probably was on people's minds, and they basically they switched from the well-regulated militia part of the Second Amendment to the right of the people to bear arms part. So
either way, bringing in this insurrection law is no bueno. It's a sign of bad things to come.
It's obviously pretty fascistic, because at the same time he's kind of messaging out to his supporters who want to be like vigilantes and happen to own arms, that like, yo, if your protester is threatening any sort of property or you feel unsafe, you have the right to end them. Which is just like, again, like how can you interpret this as anything less than being fascistic, and also like trying, like, basically I guess giving a platform to white nationalism in a time where like there's civil unrest because of black issues. It just makes it's not that it doesn't make any sense, because most of the shit that Trump doesn't make any sense. It's just in the sense that like, okay, like you can't like give him the benefit of the doubt, or begging the question of, is Trump racist or not? He obviously is. Like there are so many different examples in terms of like protests from given white people. For instance, like white people stormed the government building with arms, and nothing happened.
Yo, the governor of Michigan could have died in that situation, and they did nothing. They fought them back. They had their presence there, but they didn't throw tear gas. They didn't do shit. So
they didn't have rubber bullets. These guys like that.
And nothing about it. And if you want to call that a peaceful protest, like just openly bringing arms right in front, right? Like the hypocrisy is just
you can't deny it anymore. Or even just like
it's undeniable.
Protesters, the messaging he gave towards protesters when the looting and shooting tweet. Mm-hmm. Remember the looting and shooting tweet? Now compare that to the tweets he made about Charlottesville. The people involved in Charlottesville.
There are very nice people on both sides. Like fuck you.
Oh yeah.
Fuck you, Donald Trump, man.
He will never. The words like systemic race. That's why when I'm never gonna give fucking what's his name credit. George Bush, because the statement he released is still bullshit. But the one thing that surprised me is the fact that the word systemic racism came out of his mouth, and I was surprised that is a word that he even knows. And that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's like a topic that Donald Trump will never address. He'll always avoid it. Even if you literally will ask him face to face, he'll always find a way to dismiss something like that.